We need another damn power plant, don't we? Alright. This area looks really blighted. Let's stick to our gas power. Yes. But yeah, Link's running around, he's smashing pots and collecting rupees, and I'm like, where do I go? I don't know where to go. And, my friend Eric, shout out to you, Eric, if you're listening. House of Sim regular, doesn't stream though. He's, apparently his computer's not good enough, he tells me. But he's a regular, he hangs out. And he was like, oh, you gotta go in this area to get that, and then you have to go over there. And there's like all these counterintuitive puzzles, and it's like, how do I get through this area? And how do I get through that area? Oh, you have to bring this stick over to that torch, light the stick on fire, and then bring the stick over the spider web. And I'm like, holy crap, what the hell? Like, how would have I known that? Like, so many of, like, I've only got as far as first dungeon, and I was like walking around in some town. I was walking around the country where these things that looked like the Heartless from Kingdom Hearts came and attacked me. And then I went to the castle and snuck past the garage, which was freaking irritating. And then I went on this farm, and I had to pick up some chickens, and like, the whole time I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. I don't know what I'm doing. And once again, I pretty much butchered this, modern day classic for everyone who was watching. Zelda is confusing. And people always are saying Ocarina of Time is the best Zelda game ever. One of the best games of all time, period. And here I am, like, I don't get it. I'm just confused. So, then my friend Byron, the big D, everyone's favorite what? What was I trying to say there? I don't even know. Whatever. He's Byron, you don't know him. He was like, man, this game sure does suck. Why don't you play a good Zelda game? Like Link to the Past for the SNES. And, well, first of all, I don't really understand how one Zelda game is supposedly sucks and the other one's supposedly great. I mean, I guess that makes sense. It could be it's possible, but I'm like, okay, I'll bite. I'll try this. And it did seem to go a little bit better for me. I mean, it seemed to go a little bit better for me at first, but then I ran into the same problems. I was getting continuously lost, had no idea where to go, and it's like, you have to go over there, you have to talk to this random person in the town, you have to get this random object to proceed, and it's just like, holy crap, what the hell, man? So long story short, those games just don't agree with me, and I hypothesize that it is largely due to the fact that I had never played one before very recently. I mean, I don't want to say like our brains don't change, because they do. They're, even when you are 27, you're still capable of learning new things. But like, I just I couldn't grok it, man. I couldn't figure out how to do stuff in those games. The only reason that I was able to be anywhere near the basest, most bullshit small level of competence in StarCraft was the fact that I had played Command & Conquer Red Alert back in the late 90s, starting in 98, and it's essentially the same game, but like 1,000 times better and much more modern and all that stuff. So I was able to take my experiences with the old Red Alert and transmute them over into StarCraft. You know, it took me months to stop using red alert hotkeys and shortcuts, but I did it. I eventually became okay at StarCraft. I got into freaking Silver League, which is like, congratulations, you're no longer in the special ed classroom, but you're still going to have to see the school counselor to get your medication before lunch or after lunch, or whenever you're supposed to get your medication in school. I don't know. So, I really don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just being dense. I mean, I do have an experience that shows that I might not be so stupid. I mean, we all know that RPG type games have baffled me, and I had a very amusing debate with somebody as to what's a RPG, because I didn't know what constituted an RPG, because people call things like Final Fantasy RPGs, and in my mind, that's what an RPG is. Then people are saying stuff like Skyrim is an RPG, and Skyrim is not very much like Final Fantasy, and so I'm like, oh no, get it, and you know, the big D being being the soothsayer of us all or whatever, I don't know, was all like, well, there's two kind of RPGs, American RPGs and Japanese RPGs, and he was explaining to me what an RPG is, and I'm like, I was playing Mario 64 at the time, and I'm like, well, by that logic, isn't Mario 64 an RPG? You know, troll mode was fully engaged. Oh, that looks ugly. Look at that. Ugh. Oh well, it's fine. But like, technically, if you really want to get technical about it, any video game where you play as a character is an RPG, because think about it. In Mario 64, you're playing as Mario. You are not Mario in real life. Mario is a role that you are playing in the game. Therefore, it's an RPG. Oh man. These gaming purists out there are going to be bursting blood vessels at that argument, which is kind of the reason I said it. It's very amusing. But, oh, I kind of do want that roundabout. Look at that. That's pretty. Alright. But yeah, that was my little troll argument there. Connect you up so that you are friendly. However, back when I was not in high school, like my college years, which, as you might know, only were 2 years instead of the usual 4 or 5, because I, in my infinite wisdom, decided dropping out would be a smart thing to do. But during that time, my sister, who is a couple years younger than me, was playing a lot of Final Fantasy games on the PlayStation 2. And I forget exactly which ones they were, but I'm pretty confident that she was playing 7, 8, and 10. So, what was it? Maybe late 2006, something like that. I sat down to play Final Fantasy X, and I actually got decently far in that, surprisingly enough. I mean, I don't know if I was even halfway through, to be honest, or if I was near the end, but I got pretty far. You know, I made a non-zero amount of progress in that game. So, in theory, there's no reason why I couldn't play a game like that, I guess. I don't know. I still think your mind generally hardens against new things like that after a certain point, you know? That's why so many old people stick to music that came out in their time. Which is something that really bothers me too. It's like, hey, I discovered this new band, and Mr. Old Pants, whoever this hypothetical old person is like, nope, don't give a shit. And I'm like, but they're good. And he's like, nope, still don't give a shit. As soon as 1980, 1990, or 2000, depending on their age and inclination, came around, I stopped listening to new music. Because I'm old and I like what I like and I am not going to listen to anything else. And these are the same people who delight when you tell them that you like something from their generation. And I think they are freaking hypocrites. I mean, come on, I listened to plenty of music that came out before I was born. I mean, my favorite album of all time, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway from Genesis, came out in 1974. Those of you who are, smart enough to realize that the 86 in my name isn't just there because I made 85 other accounts, will be able to figure out that that is indeed 12 years before I was even born. Like, I wasn't even a thought until 14 years later. And of course, it would be many years after that until I was old enough to experience, to appreciate music. And a few years and many years after that until I got around to discovering the album. In fact, I didn't discover the album until 2006, which, if math serves me right, is 32 years after it came out. That's a pretty long time. So, basically, a lot of the music I enjoy is a lot older than the music that came out during my period of pop cultural awareness, which began gradually, it sort of faded into existence throughout the 90s. Like in the early 90s, I was dimly aware. In the mid-90s, I was moderately aware. And by the late 90s, I was more acutely aware, you could say. And I would say a majority of the stuff I listen to comes from before all that. And, of course, there's plenty of stuff from my own generation and plenty of stuff from later on that I enjoy. But then you get Mr. Old Pants over here who's like, nope. I don't enjoy anything made after 1979, 1989, or 1999. I mean, the most common right now seems to be people who stop after the 80s. Although that's generally being phased out, and there's more people out there saying, I don't listen to anything after the 90s now. Like, the 90s used to be too old for people who were either hipsters or old people, but people are getting older, so 90s is turning into what the 80s once were, which is what the 70s were and the 90s. You see what I mean? So, you've got these old farts, and the implication of them not liking young music is like, this is what they are implying that they want. Alright, imagine this. It's New Year's Eve, 1989. I mean, could be 1979 or 1999, but for the sake of this little spiel, we'll say it's 1989. New Year's Eve, 1989. It's California. It's Los Angeles, and, everyone's celebrating a New Year's Eve party. They're all coked up and having a good time, because that's what they did in the 80s in Hollywood and whatever, and so everyone's like, 3, 2, 1, Happy New Year, and they all, yay, clap, 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 and 1990 flashes across the screen. And after everyone has finished saying, yay, joy, they look at each other as like, well, I guess we're closing up shop now. No, we are? Yeah, don't you know? Every music made from today on is going to suck. So, I propose that we just shut it down. Alright, everybody, we are leaving the studio and we are ending the music industry. Don't forget to turn off the lights. I'm pretty sure this will become a I don't know, a walking cane facility for all the old people who are not going to be listening to music anymore. I mean, that is essentially what they are saying. Anyone who says that they don't like music after a certain time, or movies after a certain time, or fashions after a certain time, or anything after a certain time, they're pretty much implying that the industry should have just shut the doors and walked away. And it's more insulting than that even, because what they are implying is, you know, my generation or whatever generation happens to come after theirs sucks and can't do anything worthwhile. I mean, you know, I'm never going to make music before 1989. Why? Because time is linear. It's never going to be before 1989 again. So any music I make is going to be made after 1989. It sounds so silly, but it's true. It's exactly what the deal is. All these poor abandoned houses. And we'll worry about solar power some other time. But, so basically what these old farts are saying is, we will never listen to anything you make, no matter how good it is, because you just so happen to be born after a time which music was no longer good. And it's like, well, fuck you very much then. So I really think that is a very insulting position for the person to hold. And I also do feel the same way about people who say, oh, I don't listen to anything old, I only listen to songs that just came out. Let's go listen to Lil Wayne and blah, 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 you know, all that crap. Like, those people bother me too,